stages, they've always 2-0'd everybody or were just unstoppable within the Swiss stages, even when they were the rankers. But once we got into stage 3, that's where we saw a little bit of weaknesses or some things that could be exploited from the opponents to be able to defeat Envy, where, you know, they only went 4-2 in the group stage instead of being undefeated. That said, TSM's one of those teams. That's why they won the grand finals in the stage 3 of North America and are hoping to repeat it now.
Haven's such an interesting map with TSM looking so good on it. That 13-3 against Stella, the same pick against Envy from that grand final. And they hope to repeat that success, and it's the opening kills from Envy to stomp through the yard of multiple points of the map. Now finally entering B, watching from afar, they'll have to be Alvin, and having to make contact with Geister's shield, not great. There's some good tags though, injuries on the Envy side, and Timotino will have to come in to sandwich with Alvin Boy.
So much time's been wasted so far, though. They're going to walk into so many question marks once TSM walks into the site. It's a full crossfire setup from all the 4 players of Envy. This is going to be a very tough task.
Oh, hey, Timotino with the Sheriff, and it's just 7 HP and 1 final player to deal with. But another element now, it's the clock. Spike ticking down, tap, and didn't know where he was at the last second, coming down to 1 player to define that pistol.
And already Envy is coming out with some new stuff in their pistol rounds. So despite both of these teams playing the same compositions and going head-to-head in the past on this game, they utilize Kane Zira as this fake on this A side. The wall breaks the shield. You keep 2 players at bay towards the A site, while the other ones goes for a 4-0 hit into the B site. And then Kane is even able to go for this late lurk over on the A link as well. Again, rendering things very difficult for TSM to 1, hold the B site with lesser numbers, and 2 to retake. So a great start, but already a Marshall comes out in the second round, and TSM's trying to go for a stack on the C site. So this is something that we're going to have to try to identify as well for Envy going up against TSM. One of the strong points that they had in the victory of that 13-2, I think, versus Stella was just how aggressive TSM was, and like just finding timings to be aggressive through the timings of the utility that was being used by their opponents. Almost a very similar style to Envy. So they're really ready to fight them toe-to-toe. Look at this early rotate already on the A site to fight.
With the double Guardian purchases, Envy wanted to play that long-range game, and now they can get their scrappers close range. TSM just faded away, and Alvin Boy, remember that former duelist, he likes to stick around, but this time he delivers a big opening for TSM to work with. 2 versus 2, the aftershock, Envy strikes while the iron is hot, and it's another 1v1 to decide a round. It doesn't get any tighter than this, folks, but one is a Sheriff, one is a Guardian.
Thing is right now is that they both kind of have similar advantages. The smoke kind of gives the question mark that GMD just threw and that Inspire could play around, but the Spike was still in possession now of GMD. He decides to let this go and let the time go in his favor, but that allows now Inspire to pick up a weapon, pick up a Spike, and reposition himself in a 1v1 in the post plant.
It's gonna reveal him, and kind of happened to Envy last time is they got the heads up surprise on TSM. GMG gonna wait for Envy to make the move, and it's a fake plan, but a couple of seconds. I don't know if that risk is gonna pay off. With barely a second left, GMD finds the perfect moment.
Wow. And that's just TSM's work on how quick they were on the rotate. So they didn't even want to play any type of like, let's go for exits or whatnot, and they wanted to beat Envy to the punch. So as soon as nothing was really happening here towards the C site, the instant rotate came through. And now you've already seen this work coming out from Inspire, another layer that TSM's already ready for because they kind of put Bora up against them. But look at the psych smoke being thrown by the sewers. The flood came through already from TSM, and Envy had nothing to fight towards the back of the site. A nice little eco thrifty that they just want to hear against Envy, and Envy on their side now are going to go for some sort of a half buy because of this plant that they had. So a Hero Guardian onto Inspire. He's going to try to lurk towards that garage site to find information for the team, and we're just trying to pick and prod and figure out where TSM's currently setting up at the beginning of this round.
I think Alvin Boy was a huge reason TSM were able to keep fighting and contest that space before Envy were able to get too comfortable Now at long range, all noise has been cut. Inspire could be the tip of the spear with the Guardian, but he's lurking elsewhere, and Envy just hoping to close the gap, and you can see TSM poking Fraud with an Odin and a rifle, and all the kills go TSM's way, and it's over in the blink of an eye.
We had a POV of one player, and then everybody just dying around him, but that just shows how chaotic this game is going to be, and how that setup was so nice. You have this camera watching into the garage just to identify any type of C splits, but if not, Alvin Boy had all of that utility to support Timotino onto that C platform. So the cages pop up, there's some trips around the area so that you could actually keep one player anchored within that site. Look at this dash right after. So as he's trying to create this diversion for Timotino, the rest are able to flood in towards that back of the site, and there was no way for Envy to entry and even trade off against each other. So a great little cleanup in the end for TSM, and they're holding a strong lead now in this 4th round, where finally the weapons are coming out, and Envy are just going to decide to go for a full A side hit at the very beginning.
And 7 and GMD want to make sure this will be the last time they go to Ascension. They want to leave it behind them this time, and it's Envy. They're going to continue to hit this A site. They strike right at GMD, who's on the high ground. Good awareness. It's just completely evicting TSM. We're hoping to tango against them, and TSM, this defense had great luck doing that last time. Not so much. Plant goes through. Now trying to get vision here with this outlaw, and having to push corners with this is not going to be ideal with the crossfire that Envy has set up. I like the preemptive dash there, but Timotino is going to just hope that they feed the bear and feed him some more kills. Envy should definitely try to respect this a little more, and now make sure that Timotino's the one to make a move.
Ooh. Nice flash in the end as soon as the weapon got picked up, and Kane Zero is the one that's swinging out on that flash. But you see how much respect we're giving to Envy when they're going on these entries. Roy was mentioning Exeter, one of those players that utilizes the Euro kit to its full advantage in different ways. We saw how 7, he's trying to clear towards that back of the site with the Odin, and he's just staring at this clone, thinking that it was going to be some sort of a fake clone potentially, and then Exeter just runs behind us. You saw here in the replay to get that pick, but it almost made it possible there. We almost fed a kill and a rifle for Timotino to try to win a 1 versus 3, and that would have hurt the economy even more, even if they wanted a 1 versus 1 for Envy, because they didn't have too much to work with. That said, are going back into a C site, clear at the very beginning just to try to pick up some orbs, get it closer to the dimensional drift. Kane Zero has also his kill contract to work with. And as you can see here, we're just playing a couple of inserts. There's a TP still available for Exeter for them potentially create some sort of harassment towards the C site. And it's potentially even a double pump. You see the clearer coming up towards the long A side just to insert Inspired as well. And we're trying to see where the action is going to come down to. This is why potentially this camera is already lit up by Inspire 2. And there's that first distraction.
I was wondering if he's going to use this kill contract blindly, and you don't have enough rounds to really see that trend. But Kane Zera starts off with ink to paper with that, and he's got to clear out the flank, and that's a big 1v1 against GMD. But wait, GMD wins this. TSM will be coming from behind, and Envy don't care. The red carpet's down. The plays are too late. Timotino carves through the forehead of Poppin, and it's just ruthless.
And that's TSM this time around, not going for overextensions on the rotates like they did on the Thrifty. They kind of understood here that, you know, the map has 3 sites. You got to take your time. You got to see where the action is going to be first. And even if you see some opponents on one end, you can't rotate too quickly. And it even helps when Timotino gets an opener onto Inspire just like this. So a 2v2 over on the A side. The rest of the action is happening towards C. And Timotino does an excellent job right over here. They tried to flip the map because of the presence that we had over on the A site. And unfortunately, they were met up by the blades of Timotino again. And TSM are back in the lead, and this is going to be a game that's going to go back and forth. I mean, Kiwi, a fun one to spectate if you're a Valorant fan for North America.
Wow, GMD, what a round, shutting down this garage push pretty much single-handedly, and Alvin Boy's there too. And GMD was already creating his threats of his own. I mean, even last round, he was pushing Courtyard and going on the flank. There was a... But then, of course, the spotlight was on Timotino bringing the ult out, but now it's just Inspire, and don't underestimate what they can do with Sheriffs, and TSM don't want to feed Envy on any unnecessary kills either.
Yeah, because this would kind of be a repeat of a 5 versus 1 against Rukoide earlier on in this tournament, or sorry, against Citizord over on Stella. But now they're just going to anchor it up, making sure that they're covering that spike. And then Inspire has no weapons that he could pick up. And as he'll walk through, you'll have the first point of contact being Timotino, and 7 is swinging right after with the Odin. And this is one of those areas right now that's always well defended by the side of TSM when they were playing this map as well, especially when it comes down to the Odin that you have from 7 and Vora playing as this Sova. The way that they retake towards that seaside is focused a lot on that garage, and they do such a great job clearing that as a group. So it's a very tough stronghold for them to try to enter, and you can already see here when it doesn't even have to go for a re-clear towards that side. They're anchoring perfectly for the side of TSM. And another one of those positive things from TSM is that it really looks like they came with a lot of preparations versus a team that they're playing against, because they're always at the right spots at the beginning of these rounds when they're playing the defensive sides in the series against Delay.
See the Envy start to fall like dominoes as soon as there's one misstep, the awkward jump, and if it wasn't for the ISO shield, that could have almost been a 4K, but nonetheless, Envy try to work their way. But look at this again, GMD finds those lapses in map control, and Envy just pay the price. Yet again, TSM at a big early round advantage.
We've talked about it, how TSM likes to play. 7 mentioned it. They know when they have to play aggressive. They know when they could suffocate. They know when they have to play a little bit more passively. Now they're actually not ever giving a chance for Envy to really set up at the beginning of these rounds. Although a little space is now given, and Exter's still alive. He could make a play right here.
Exter knows there's more trouble around the corner. Good attempt at the flash to be a self-sufficient. Oh, and Poppin just gets sandwiched. What was that?
No.
What did Timotino have for breakfast? I'm gonna buy whatever that was.
That is what we want to see, though. Disrespect your opponents, and also not being flustered to be on this stage either. Again, Timotino in his interview that we just heard earlier on was saying, you know, we had a bit of the jitters going into on our first match internationally on this stage. The Brazilian crowd was super loud. You know that today it's not going to be as loud because it's just 2 North American teams, so there's not going to be too much support anyways, except for maybe like the 3 TSM fans that we saw earlier on in that first row.
Wow.
But that's the thing. You see how confident Timotino is currently playing right now. Doesn't need to fall back. Doesn't need to wait for his teammates. Just go and do some damage. Do some pop shots, because you still have another player anchored inside the site, and the other ones are already rotating. So don't give him that space to retreat or to fight.
Good moment for a timeout for Envy, because it's been obviously a difficult journey, and as soon as you slip up once, it feels like all of TSM collapse on you, and to find what is going to be the kryptonite to someone like Timotino, who looks like he's on trend to drop another 30 bomb like he did in that very first match. And they say they had jitters, but TSM still looked just that incredible in that first match. And to bring that consistency against another team that they're so familiar with, one that they can definitely know and can attest to how strong Envy is, and to still go in with that much confidence, like, I don't know, TSM, they just want it that bad.
Yeah. And also, like, the small things, again, if you want to think about that pistol round where you threw that wall, you popped that double tap for Kane0. What immediately happened there, Vora went for a shock dart to go right behind the wall and instantly broke the shield. So the small little things, as we were mentioning, is the more you're seeing threats on. Let's hold that thought, though. There's a flash through the smoke, a double swing. Okay, now that's denied. So as I'm about to say, a lot of the teams are starting to understand the play style of Envy here, and are able to eliminate all of these big utility that Envy could utilize for these hits.
At least, I mean, Envy, I didn't have a great buy, but I like that they were trying to adapt to GMD playing in that A sewers area. They pulled TSM to the right side of the map, got a plan going, so that's something. Agent managing to pick up a Stinger too. It'll be a brawl in the courtyard, but Inspire is outnumbered and kind of goes back to the Sheriff, so that doesn't work out at all, and that's a flawless.
And that's the double team once again. I mean, a 2 versus 1 at the grass. You see the pathing happens very often from both of these players, and it hasn't changed from their first time that they met, or that they played on the stage against Delay. So now, if there was a timeout that happened there into this half buy for Envy to just try to get the plant down, that round with the weapons that they're going to bring right now is to try to identify those moments. They have been finding some success to get these plants towards that C site, but there's going to be a lot of responsibility onto Inspire. So that he could get the most perfect lurk to really stop that double push and rotate from 7 and Vora from the front B side into the garage.
Just a little bit worried when and everyone's talked about the mechanical skill of Envy, even some teams like disrespecting them. It's like no brains, all aim, like type of comments that we're hearing. And Envy are losing those duels. And that's very uncharacteristic, like to 2v1 and to lose to GMD, which GMD has been popping off time and time again, but won't be showing up at that A source, not this time. Envy gonna switch things up and really prioritize mid and left side.
This is why this matchup is also super fun to witness right now, because if you're looking from recency bias of all of the teams that currently are playing Ascension, we've seen it all play once so far, and TSM and Envy both look the teams.
Oh, that's the KaneZero we know and love, and we've been waiting for this hero to show up. Now the kill contract, he's just gonna be on duty cleaning up. Wow, he got 4 is so low, 11 HP. I thought that was already 1. Just won't be flawless for Envy, but post timeout they can finally pick up a round.
Yeah, and they've seen on the side here of TSM that it's been relatively quiet in the front of that B site at the beginning of these rounds, and also on grass, so they were hoping to get some sort of an advantage to push down and really start taking over that space for the fast rotates on that side. But look at these picks. KaneZero catching GMD with his pants down, but the trade couldn't really come through from the Odin, and that just opened everything up. You already had the ult coming through, so it was actually a timeout that utilized a lot of teamwork and one of the big ults to really take the site now for Envy. But thankfully, they still have more to work with. Actually, they did 2 ults because he also had the kill contract for KaneZero. Now they could cycle with this Hunter's Fury and Ions is from the shadows as they're trying to plow towards the C site once again.
Trying to see if they can exploit this. It's just so chaotic though, and Envy, this is where they thrive. And this time they're ready to focus down that right side, but then you have Odins, you have Spray, you have teamwork from TSM, and still Envy failed to break through into C.
That's what's missing a bit here when you're trying to get a little bit more behind that side. I mean, Spars alone again, easily taken down by the Odin, just on the left side of 7. But you saw that they kind of just stopped when they really got the entry into the C site for the side of Envy. And they didn't want to really break util towards that back. There was no pop flash or plays to really try to fight towards that back end. And they kind of walked into the operator from TMOTINO first. And that's what started de-escalating on their side for the hit. Look, after this first pick, the aftershock comes out from the garage. So they flood everybody out. Everybody's playing great positionings. And Alvin Boy continues to play around his cages, around the GMD smoke. And that's been a brutal point. And a brutal part for even any of their opponents to try to take over a C site when Alvin's anchoring the way that he does.
Yeah. ISO wall up, seeing if they can access that up. I'm really surprised Envy are going to test those waters again, but this time trying to cross through the left side, and Alvin Boy is forever the anchor that you can rely on with another triple kill, make it a 4th. Envy just keep trying different things. The desk have talked about how dynamic they are, but they're just hitting a brick wall.
And this is what I'm loving, the new Vibe Merchant that comes out of 7. I mean, if you remember TSM or even 7 himself, I think if I'm not mistaken, he was even brought up at some point to play in some sort of LCQ or something like that with even Hiko back in the day when he was just like a rookie looking to get signed. And Hiko was mentioning how quiet 7 has been when he joined. Like, they picked up the most quietest person, the quietest kid to play for the team. But look how loud he is right now. The years that he's been playing, as Ades has mentioned, even though so young, brings a lot of veterancy in terms of hype and vibes to motivate TSM to take this lead on an 8-3 scoreline.
Don't even need the op, the outlaw, the knives. But a rifle through the shield, through the heart, looking for an ace. And even with the Hunter's Fury lining up the ducklings, it's the final round. Will end soon in TSM's way, unless Poppin can find an upgrade, but GMD's already pushing him. Vor gets the kill before him, and it's 9-3. Just feels like annihilation. When it came down to a lot of 1v1s to decide rounds at the beginning of this half, it ends in TSM getting a lot of flawless.
Yeah, and that's just TMOTINO again at the point. Dude, I don't understand how he's so confident for the first time playing on an international stage like this. Like, not only from these hits, but like how he's just pushing forward and doesn't care. The flash forward, he just wants to give his life away, but he doesn't need to because he's just killing everybody at the same time. Now, outside of that aggression coming out here from TMOTINO, he's just also very good in terms of just playing a very similar style of opping. Like, I'd like to even say Mata at this point.
Absolutely. TSM are up 9-3, but we have an interview in the crowd, so let's go check it out.
Valeu, cara. Eu tô aqui com a Zani, que é criadora de conteúdo e que foi convencida pela torcida da TSM, que vocês estão ouvindo gritar, a torcer justamente pela TSM, tá com um bandeirão. Então, como é que foi isso? Agora tá pelos caras aqui?
Sim, completamente. Virei fã.
Convenceram você mesmo, falaram, não, vai ser pela TSM e vambora.
Sim.
Tá vendo? Prometeram uma camiseta, alguma coisa ou nada a ver?
Não, mas eu tô torcendo pros meninos também.
Tá certo. So I'm here with Zeni, which is a content creator, and she's like one of the new fans of TSM, and she was kind of convinced by the TSM crowd here cheering for them. E você acha que vai ser 2-0, seco, suave, mais pegado? Os caras lá são muito bons, é clássico regional.
2-0, eles vão amassar. Vamos!
Tá vendo? É isso. O brasileiro, a brasileira, enfim, sendo convencido pela TSM. So that's it. Like a Brazilian being convinced to cheer for TSM. TSM has fans all around the world. É isso aí. Vamos ver se vai dar certo.
I love to see the fans here, and you know, even though you could count on one hand bands, I know you were remembering the amount of TSM fans that are there. I think there's going to be some new fans that are going to be joining the Church of TSM very soon.
Yeah, I agree. Because if not, TSM had probably their biggest fan base back in 2020 when, you know, the era of the Wardells probably had everybody watching and paying close attention to how TSM was such a dominant team back when VALORANT first started. You're thinking about Wardell, Hayes, Cutler. Man, we're going deep in these cuts, literally, in terms of the history of this roster. But now, you know, you're bringing fresh new blood, names that are not actually as known as in the past, but they are definitely making their mark now.
Going to be an important round for Envy to solidify. They've got two pushed up into A. Really interesting insertion to see if they can get, well, an angle on TSM when it's first blood from Timotino. I like that response from Egster, but he's been cleared out from the rest of TSM. And it's just Kane Zera, no, and now they're kind of isolated. Envy get overwhelmed by the teamwork of TSM yet again.
They were just trying to find some one-off timings for Envy getting denied. TSM's in a good spot in his post play.
Oh, crossfire. Oh!
One enemy
Forget he's on the floor. Wait. Turnable. Wait. Nope. 7 picks it all up. And that's what's great about TSM, right? You have these pop-off players, but it's the support that they have for each other. And that's what I mean by, like, friendship. It's not just they get along out of game, but within the game. Like, when someone makes a mistake, they don't harp on it. It looks like they just lock in and they solve it immediately.
Yeah, the power of friendship. But even then, Timotino, after he got that first pick, it looks like he didn't really check that corner. That Exer was still there. I respect Kane dropping out of that smoke because you are trying to find a timing to just stop the plant and try to have players trade him out. And then it gives a chance for the other ones to flood back into the site because they've already lost so much in the very beginning. Already committed to that into a one and done. Don't have too much for a flood flood retake rather. But TSM, we're going on the anti-eco where we do have a Bucky for Kane Zero currently playing just into the stack by the sewers with three other of his teammates.
Nexter is able to draw out some of this TSM util to make sure they clear him out. He teleports out. And you wait for 7 just to get in position to be able to explode onto the site. And that's the beauty of being able to play that breach first. Timotino that could just be dashing in. I worry though with Envy owning this left corner, and Timotino doesn't care about the scrub damage, and Extra misses the shot he needed to hit, but the Bucky hurts at close range, and Envy have their backs against the wall, and it's still a full sweep for TSM, leaving Inspire to pick up the pieces. And at least he goes in early, but he also falls just as fast.
And I was a little bit afraid though when TSM went for that drone into the site, because it definitely felt like they needed to get the smokes up from GMD, but they missed that timing. The drone went a little bit too early and got instantly brought down by the Marshal over on the side. I think it was Exer that had it. So once that drone is gone, you have zero information into the site because the recon wasn't up yet, and everybody hiding inside that smoke could have had such a huge surprise factor for the side of Envy. But thankfully, despite the util, TSM still came in as a group, and they made sure that they traded within that smoke the mini little arena that they created in there and got the top and the best out of Envy. And this is going to be a very strong position that TSM takes right now. The bonus round that they have is still quite strong. Already shock darts are breaking Inspire's trips. That's usually great spots that he puts them. They could still use great value out of it, but he doesn't have it anymore.
And the past repeats itself, right? TSM on defense start off with a 9-3 half, and they're heading into maybe a similar scoreline of 13-3 like they did against Stella. But hold on, Envy close the door. Now they shut it and lock it, especially when Inspire's on duty. He gets to have eyes and help supporting Garage, because here comes Alvin trying to cause a ruckus and threats on multiple angles. But now 7 falls, and Envy will not go by, and they'll be able to win the rifle round.
And that's the annoying part too. The one ways that Inspire throws into what I like to call the trumpets there on the top C side, creates little one ways for himself too, and even isolates an angle so he can play onto the platform and even look into the garage at the same time. So you really have to be careful that even if the trips are gone on the side of Inspire, he could still play some very good positions here, as you could just see in this replay. Second cage to stay alive as well, just on that platform. You really utilizing it for himself, just kind of like what Alvin Boy did, but in just in a different type of style that he anchors towards his C site. And TSM will have to be ready for those in the later rounds, but they have so many rounds ahead and are sitting comfortably in the lead here, so they could figure out how they could close out these last 2 rounds on their side.
Okay, already Exter finding that first pick. So now back-to-back rounds where Envy gets some good proactivity, but now to try and scrap up close into B did cost some corpses. Leave Vor behind to watch that courtyard, because they know Ion still wants to have his moment in the sun. But TSM just that close to the finish line. So it's still an important round. Envy have to really be flawless. And clearing out Vora is such a great start for Envy. Paranoia doesn't make contact. 7. A moment where Ion is caught slipping. 1 versus 2. Rolling Thunder available for 7. But does he go for it? Oh, the drive-by, you needed to hit that. And he's going to go for the Rolling Thunder. He only can confirm the 1 target. Doesn't know where the other one is. But it's simply to deny the spike from being touched, and the awareness to know the flank could be a possibility. But too much pressure for him to handle.
Yeah, 7 looked like he exactly knew where Inspire was going to be coming from. But unfortunately, after a Rolling Thunder, ran out of bullets and had to reload. So he misses that window to really or rush into the B site, or just making sure that he could bait out a sound to really engage into a 1v1 fight towards that back. So now the advantage went back onto NV side. The tap forces him out, and they go for the sandwich play. But pretty decent round in the end here for the side of TSM, because they had some sort of a mixed buy with the plant, so it allows for them to have a pretty comfortable buy going into this round number 17. A couple of them away from most likely from the shadows. They are leaning towards that side as well for TSM. I don't know if they're going to try to pick this up. Not the best ult you could really use in the game, but very, very potent on a map like Haven. So you can really get towards that back of the C line and really start engaging into a split.
So much good information from Envy, and this walk up from Kane Zara could really throw TSM for a loop, along with another opening kill. Make it a 2nd one. Kane Zara, he's on an adventure, and TSM, they don't want to be the villains in his story. The shield cracks, and TSM continue to have their focus forward. You still have that op that has not been revealed. Exter was kind of checking things out in mid. He'll be still on that duty, trusting his sentinel. Inspire. He gets caught and swatted on the left side. He's gonna need a band-aid. Timotino with the finish. I like the Ion trade though. Help is on the way for Envy. GMD cuts off some rotations. This is still anyone's game, and you cannot allow TSM to get their match point. You need a little bit more breathing room if you're Envy, but they've been under the stranglehold of TSM just this whole game. And it's the TSM playground, but can GMD clean this up? He can't. Envy, stabilize.
Very smart for Ion as well. You can already see when you're trying to clear back towards that B site, the front B site for TSM, you already had to use so many big util to really flush Kane away from the shield and the damage that he's already brought out. The paranoia was actually being used for that. Then you go back into, well, everybody's so separated into TSM that you have to go for hero plays. When it comes down to that 2 versus 2 in the back of the platform, though, you kind of just needed Ions to stay alive as long as he could, so that the late lurk and rotate could come in from Poppin. Look how he stays tucked in after this fight, just trying to bait GMD towards him, out in the open, a free kill in the back there from Poppin. And that was just nicely played. So they stay alive in this fight. TSM's back into a half buy, a little bit of a quasi G2 with 3 stingers, but it is going to be explosive towards this A site.
Exter continues to find unique angles to bring this op at, and Well, he's also got backup plans, and they don't even know he has this probably. And on the half by TSM, we'll get an upgrade here at 8 HP though. I'd like to see a health upgrade. Egster making noise, and there's good cover. And this means that Envy not only stay alive, but they're really starting to thrive. This is a 4-round win streak building.
Yeah, right now there is a lot of big ask that's coming out here from those that you know could frag up big for the side of Envy, and that's Egster and Kane0. But I gotta say, despite these low buys that you have from TSM, everybody's kind of like just shooting on point so far. Look at this entry that you have from GMD, and even on low HP after for 7, he's able to muster up 2 kills of his own with his Stinger. And they had to come down to this right here for the shorty to get some good damage, and the one that got the first kill on the ones trying to push towards the sewers. So yeah, that now at least they're able to, at least you know the check mark is that they're able to fight toe to toe right now, TSM versus Envy. It's looking quite good. But when it comes right now to their entries or their executions, they are getting snuffed a little bit here, not in the best positions in the pulse plan because they're losing so many players in the process. So NBS is going to try to talk that through with TSM on how they could work this a little bit better.
This is the wind in the sails of Envy to be just that close to defeat. 11-3, and now it's 11-7. Hold on, is this real? Because yes, we talk about that TSM win in the grand final and how much that meant, and they were really starting to get to their prime, hit their peak. But TSM have only been able to defeat Envy 1 time out of, well, the streaks that Envy have been on, that dominance. But finally, a challenger has stepped up, and if anything, TSM hold the crown. They hold the #1 seed for a reason. And I already cursed the 13-3 scoreline. Envy putting up a much stronger of a fight when push comes to shove.
And they have so many ults on the side of Envy as well, coming back from this timeout called by TSM. TSM are looking for the insert, just try to do some damage on this C site. Maybe a cage should be thrown just to create some sort of diversion on the A site. Don't know if we're really gonna finish here yet.
The trip is perfect, and Inspire gets the kill. TSM still try to flood in, and the Odin is doing all the talking. Hunter's Fury will still set TSM back in the tag. Does confirm that onto 7, and even Alvin Boy 2 is at half HP. Talk about value. This is savable from Envy. Despite the shoelaces getting a bit tangled up, and TSM will still be allowed to plant.
It's a big fight though. Alvin Boy not dying. They have a trip to watch the flank. Dimensional Drift is going to find information right now, but if Vora could escape, he's got the Hunter's Fury to work with post plant.
The blinds, the flashes, and Alvin Boy's already low. It's cooked, the recon. It's just a distraction, but Envy just shoot better. I don't know. They're looking kind of unstoppable right now.
That was just so nice though, in the combination from both Egster and Ion. So for him to get into the site, I was wondering how they're going to be able to retake this if you're going to have one dimensional drift and nobody else can really follow through, because Poppin's all the way back towards the A site. So he goes through, picks up a weapon at the same time while he's in dimensional drift. The paranoia eats all 3 players as he notices them on that site. So Iron could just look at the radar, and then he pops out of it, gets an easy kill towards that back, and then the rest of Envy could flood right back in. And that's a rare miss coming out from Timatino on the entries too, but it also comes to show that it hasn't been a trip that was set yet by Inspire, so he kind of got slingshot at that point, and I think TSM is going to start avoiding that C side if you're going to keep playing that side.
A rolling thunder. TSM almost want to bait Envy into a brawl in the rolling thunder, but TSM also get hit, and they get clapped back by Envy. And Inspire keeps delivering multi-kills, this time from C to A, to sending TSM a big old L. Unless TSM can double their weight in gold, and it comes down maybe to this kill contract of Vora against Kane. And wow, Vora's been consistent. Maybe, well, now he's also dead again. But it was still cool to win the kill contract. That's still Aura.
That's still Aura, actually coming from Inspire too, because he had no trips on the site. I think that he just popped his camera, maybe tagged one, but had enough vision to see where they were scaling up towards that site, so that even playing on the top of heaven inside that smoke, he's able to spray down 2, make that even, I think, even 3 players into the A site long walk. So it definitely got snuffed right away. I think this might call for a second timeout already from the side of TSM if all these side execs. Yeah, look at that. It even catches 2. That's insane. But like I said, I feel like right now you called a timeout. You're trying to go for 2 big plays because you have enough money to work for 2 rounds, and they get stopped right away. And now you're closing that gap here for the side of Envy. And there you go. NBS is going to have to talk things through because you're starting to see things falter on the side of TSM. And to Envy, if you're just tuning in right now, this is also just familiar territory for their side as well. They were getting dominated when they were playing Sunset, their map choice against their opponents last time, and they were falling behind by quite a lot. But once we got into that second half, they just were in full control of the steering wheel, to catch up into the game, and also just being dominating on the second half and not give a chance for their opponent to really come back in the game. And I think that was Team Solid, if I'm not mistaken. That said, this is still one more timeout available for Envy to work with. And TSM looks like they are going to reach deep into the pockets into this buy. Only a stinger for 7, but they will try to make something out of this.
How's nobody made like a Team Solid mid joke yet? Like we have Team Solid at home. But anyway, the lock-in, because this map is almost wrapped up. Envy did such a fantastic job to have a clean start to the round, to deny the Rolling Thunder, and you still have a stinger here from 7, which he had an awkward range. Negster has prioritized a lot of this op holding in mid.
Yeah, and excuse me, it was against 9Z on Sunset, but the story still remains that they had full confidence here of this second half. But they are trying to find something here for TSM, just waiting for some sort of a contact play. And that's the point of contact being Timotino at first. So at the minute mark, nobody's really pushing out. You're waiting off the timer even from the TP from Exeter, so they can really try to flush him out and force him to use his last TP, so you identify that gap. So that's why that drone came through right after, but it still hasn't seen anything yet. Exeter is still going to try to go for that aggressive peek down towards that long B side because he already set his second TP.
TSM, we're trying to measure just how antsy we're Envy gonna get. Now the ball is in TSM's court. Put a dunk on Envy, catch the recon, but Poppin gets even marked and it doesn't matter. Oh my god. TSM just fall like flies. Inspire just cannot be shaken, cannot be stirred. And now Alvin Boy's trying to escape. It's not gonna happen. Wow.
I was looking at a fight from the minimap the whole time between Alvin Boy and Ion. Basically, you're trying to go for this mid-round call of saying, okay, well, we don't really know where Exeter is at. Let's just try to go for that pump on that C site. If Alvin Boy could activate some way, shape, or form on that A site, we could always fall back if we can. He catches Ion off guard, throws smokes, misses the fight, misses the kill. Ion throws a paranoia, and now these guys are playing merry-go-round, just jumping around the A site. And it was classics to classic. Players are reloading, and Ion finally wins it in the end at 8 HP. It's just hilarious. At least we saw the last few seconds of that fight. But it's TSM going for the G2 buy for a Hail Mary onto the C site.
Oh, another TSM flood, and they've had success. They may have found the kryptonite, and Envy getting melted, but wait, they just fire back. They hold the line. But the biggest threat, the final boss, has always been and Timotino, and it will end with him to Poppin around the corner. And man, that's all he does is pop off when needed. And Envy get a defuse. And just a reminder to folks, this was 11-3 at one point.
This is amazing coming in from Envy's side too. And Timotino looks scary though. After those 2 kills he had with the Stinger, had another dash available. And they would decide to try to catch Poppin off guard by swinging towards that back of the site, understanding the timing of Poppin playing from the A site and when he's going to rotate across when the plant comes down. Unfortunately, the timing was not there in terms of his crosshair placement. And Poppin just gets the easy kill towards the... I mean, that you just saw that bullet whip by his ear too. That was very close. No cigar though for the side of TSM, but it's 11-11 with the buy coming back on their side, and even 7 decides not to go for the Odin. So he was going to try to support from just running it down with close range battles with the rest of the team when Timotino potentially would try to dash in again.
Tie game. And Envy gonna keep the same defensive setup because guess what? It's worked. And Inspire just needs one to get that neural theft and to give defense an even bigger advantage, along with just some initial damage to 7
So nice.
and not letting Timotino escape. Poppin's got a lot of bullets. Just got a sniper that'll have to rotate back in. Exter is gone, and so are TSM. The spike has fallen. And Envy got a lot to say, and TSM do not have a response.
Yeah, right now TSM doesn't need a crowd to be loud not to hear anything. It's just popping, spraying the Odin after getting his kills on sewers. Well, yeah, no rounds coming through here for TSM and Envy at map point, and they just understood the play coming out from TSM. Because even with a fake that they threw on that C site, what really stalls them is not only the smokes and the util from Inspire and Ion, but Ion also TP'd on the top of the boxes. Look how free this kill becomes after onto Timotino. He sees nothing down that lane right after, so nobody has to rotate on the side of A. So Poppin just stays there, ADSs with the Odin, and Envy's turning it back in. They're about to do the nice little switcheroo and take the first map away from TSM's grasp.
9 rounds in a row. Envy giving us some miracles. Poppin is doing so much damage, and TSM are just laying down and accepting it. Kainzera, though, up to no good in mid, and even though there was a trip left, Alvin Boy maybe wanted to give the team another option, and now there really isn't any alternative but to hit this A site. And Envy know it. They smell blood in the water. It's a Hunter's Fury that carves through the lane, and Timotino will have to do it all on his own. He's isolated from his team, but he doesn't want to let any strays go by. Exter gets back to safety. Timotino lost in the sauce, and he has no team left to thrive. No way. Envy have made the most insane comeback of the Swiss stage. 13-11. Are you not entertained?
In true fashion too. And when TSM was so loud at the beginning of this game, look at how nonchalantly Inspire stands up and gives a double thumbs up to TSM after they've dominated them on the defensive side. Look at the attempt that Timotino tried to do to updraft again and get kills off the Bladestorm, and Nexter just TPs away, and he wastes so much time to allow for Envy to come back. Again, as Roy was mentioning, method to the madness, some sort of recipe to the chaos, and it works out perfectly for Envy when it comes down to these gunfights and how they're ready to fight back against TSM. It looked good at the very beginning here, 11 QE for TSM, where they've shown no fear rather to fight against Envy, but it definitely